Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back. So, today I have a very special episode for you. We've been talking about the nodal shift this week. So, the node shifting from Aries and Libra into Pisces and Virgo. And in the last episode, I explained to you what this potentially means for your rising sign, right? Like talking about the energies that can then obviously manifest in different forms, but there's an energy present that you can work with. Now, today I want to talk about how the transiting nodal shift affects your natal nodal placement. So, let's say you're a Leo and Aquarius nodal axis, or you have that nodal axis in your chart. What does that mean? What does the aspect to the current nodes mean? So we will first have a look at the main aspects. So opposition, conjunction, square, trines, and sextiles. I will also talk about the semi-sextile and the quincunx because I think they are often overlooked. And even though they are minor aspects, they can have or they can play a major role in your life. Like sometimes, just the little things in life, they bother us the most. And that's how it can play out with the quincunx particularly. Now, then also I want to give you some examples. So I will give you 6 examples of how this can work out. Let's start. Let's get going because I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes. Let's see how we go. So when the transiting nodes, the north node and the south node, shift and interact with your natal nodal axis, it's a little bit of a tongue squeezer here, it creates a significant period of karmic growth, release, and realignment. So depending on, what aspect it makes. The transiting nodes highlight the lesson and themes, or the lessons, I should say, and themes you are meant to work through in connection with your nodal axis, your natal nodal axis. So let's look at the opposition conjunction. What is an opposition conjunction? What I mean is the reverse nodes. Now, when the transiting north node conjuncts your natal south node and the transiting south node conjuncts your natal north node, this is known as a nodal reversal, and it occurs approximately every 9 years. The theme here is balancing those past life lessons. And when we talk past life, I use this term loosely. I'm not just talking about what we consider past life, the lives before before you started this one. I'm also talking about your past, your childhood, your upbringing, and what you've learned there and what you haven't yet integrated, right? That part. Now, balancing those lessons with your soul's intended growth, aka North Node. So this can feel a bit like a crossroad, a karmic crossroad, where you revisit old patterns or old relationships and decide, and I use the word decide particularly here because you decide what you let go or then continue to take with you as a little baggage. So you can decide what you release and align with your life's purpose. Now, not always, but often, we decide to keep going with it, and then we do another round because maybe it takes us a little longer to learn. There is no good or bad. It's not like it's right or wrong. It just is. It's like the experience that you have in this lifetime, because that's all it is, period. It's an experience. This life we are living, it's an experience. And that's also the meaning, right? The meaning of life is having the experience of life with everything that comes with it. And we like to look at all the obstacles and the harder times as something negative. But what if it isn't? What if it is just an experience that we are here to transmute, transform. I particularly am not using the word overcome. I want to use the word transmute and transform, because that, whatever it is, the illness, the breakup, whatever it is, that is here for you to experience and to transform. Now, with our human mind, we may have a hard time to look at it from that perspective. When we are battling an illness, when we are, going through hard times, looking at it as, an experience, doesn't seem sensible. But what if we try to do that? What if it is an experience that we came here to transmute? What if it helps us, the transmutation, the transforming, if it helps us to get to exactly where we would love to be? Now, the challenges that often show up in this, I kind of already mentioned this, is you may feel torn between the comfort of the familiar, right, the quote-unquote past, and the call of the unknown, the quote-unquote future. And again, I do not look at the South and the North Node as something that, one thing needs to be released and the other thing needs to be come, right? It's not we are becoming the North Node and releasing the South Node. That makes no sense, because it's still an axis. We are not letting go of the South Node. We are integrating it. We are letting go of whatever holds us back within that energy, right? The lower vibration of that energy, and we want to integrate it in a higher form. So it's not so much about releasing it and then it's not there. That's just not going to happen anyways. It is there. It will be there. But what are you doing with that energy? How are you utilizing it? How are you working with it? How is it integrated? How is that energy of the South Node helping you grow into your North Node? Because that really is the way we really want to look at this. You want to use that energy of the South Node to become whatever you desire to become, according to that North Node energy. And the opportunity is that breaking free of limiting patterns, right? That limiting part of that energy, that South Node energy of that really that nodal axis, whatever that nodal axis represents, right? The limiting energy of that, the lower vibration of that, because everything has a higher and lower vibration, but you want to break free from that, from those limiting patterns, and fully embrace the soul's journey with all that comes with it. And by all, I mean all. And that often includes the things we look at as problems or obstacles. Now, let's talk about the conjunction. So that means the aligned node. So when the transiting North Node conjuncts your natal North Node, you have a nodal return. And that occurs approximately every 18, 19 years. Now the themes here, the main theme is a period of let's say destiny alignment, where the universe supports you in stepping more fully into your purpose. Now, that might sound like, only every 18, 19 years I get to step into my purpose. No. But there is an energy, because the last 19 years, you worked on so many things, and now you're ready, right? You're ready for something, to fully step into something. That doesn't mean that you didn't step into a new self in the past 18 years or 19 years. But now it's like a big shift. And when you have gone through it once or twice, and I've gone through it twice by now, it is profound. It is a big change and shift. The first time for me was moving away from my parents' home. I moved out, I moved to a different city, everything was different. I was on my own. I completely on my own. There was no support, and there was no support because I didn't want the support from my parents, but I just, I was ready to do things on my own. It wasn't like there wasn't a negative thing, leave me alone. No, it's like, no, I'm going to do this. And yeah, I stepped fully into it. And it was amazing. And then the second time was another big step, but it seemingly, when I look at them, they look very different. But then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, actually, it just was the next step, the next evolution, the next big, what do I want to call it? I don't want to call it becoming, but more like an up-leveled version of the 18, 19-year-old self that I was before. Like not a more free version, but maybe a more free version. I felt like the first step, the first nodal return was like the biggest freedom I've ever experienced. Like, it was like, I felt I'm finally me. I'm finally living the life that I've always dreamed of living. And the second time was the next step in that journey. And it was it was also freeing, but it felt freeing differently. But I had to free a different part of myself that I kept locked up within myself. And I stepped up, I stepped out, I was seen, I allowed myself to be seen in a different way. Because I have my North Node in Leo. So there is the theme of being seen. For me, it's also in the 12th house. So you can imagine being seen in the 12th house is not like being seen in the 10th house. It's a different kind of being seen. You go through a different filter there, if we want to look at it that way. Now, the challenges here can be that the growth feels, I don't even know if it's a challenge, to be honest with you, but it's like the growth can feel intense. Like there's an intensity and it feels fated, and you almost feels like you're pushed, but the push feels kind of good generally, unless you have like really harsh aspect to the nodes. Maybe if you have a lot of squares, like Pluto square, Saturn square to the nodes, like that can feel probably like a harder push, or more like a push that you don't want. But generally it's like you feel pushed and he's like, yes, thank you for pushing me. It's more like that. And the opportunity here is really the chance to embrace your soul's mission, if we want to call it that way, and unlock new potentials. Then let's talk about the square. So we have the first and the last quarter squares here. So the transiting nodes square your natal nodes approximately every 4.5 and 13.5 years. So every 4.5 years. So you have the conjunction, then you have the square, then you have the opposition, and then you have another square, and then you have a conjunction again. So now the theme here, I think I would say this is probably the more, I don't even want to use the word difficult, but it might feel like the more challenging one. I think, or maybe that's how I experienced it. But also, I guess from what I observe with my clients or people around me, that it usually seems to be more tension, and really like this reevaluation of your life's direction. I mean, that was like, for me, it was like a major reevaluation. The last one that I had, like that came, my last one was just basically recently. That one I moved to a different country. So basically with a different language that I don't speak. And like it was intense. And so you may feel pulled between the old habits of the South Node and the new aspirations of the North Node. And it almost seems like the external circumstances push you to make adjustments. And that was certainly true for me. But again, the outer world, we need to remember the outer world, the circumstances we see around us are just what we hold inside, what we've created. Our past creations is what we see around us. That's our past creations. Now, if we want to create something different, we got to create it inside, right? In the world we live in, we always try to change matter for matter. It's like, I have to change my circumstances. Like, so you try the external, I remove that person, I remove that person. Like, I change that job. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't remove people out of your life or you shouldn't change your job, but really you need to understand that if you do that but haven't really changed anything inside, you're going to attract these people again, and you're going to attract a job again that doesn't fulfill you in the way you would like to feel fulfilled. So yeah, the challenge here is the internal conflict that shows up in external challenges that force your growth. And the opportunity here is to clarify what aligns with your soul's purpose and taking the necessary steps towards it. Now then, we always have the trines and sextiles, and these aspects occur more frequently and bring a smoother, supportive energy. The themes here are the opportunities to integrate the lessons from your past. So the trine, and I'm in a trine right now. Well, I have been. I'm actually, I've been in a trine, and I'm now moving towards the Quincunx, which we will talk about soon. So I've been in a trine. And actually, I have to say, the trine was not that easy. It's almost like I came out of the square, went into the trine, and it felt like that. I have to admit, the trine was. It started to feel good eventually, but like that square was really tough. Like it was a really tough square, and so I think I didn't understand the internal work at first. I was, I think, trying to do everything on the outside, and then I started working on the inside. So that kind of, I moved into the trine with still like all the work, but then, and I'm still in that. I'm still in that trine, right? The trine is still present. And I'm moving. When am I going to have I don't know, near the end of this year, I think, or early next year, I will experience probably earlier next year, I'll be in the Quincunx and Semi-Sextile. So yeah, I think now I feel life is flowing. It's starting to really flow. I'm like, wow. I was still like, my brain still can't fully handle it because my brain is still in the square, kind of. It's like a little bit in the past, and my brain's like, no, we gotta shift here. We gotta do the inner shift too, not just the outer shift, because everything just starts to flow, and it feels really good. And we need these, right? It's just like the cycle of life. We are going through these, changes and shifts where we have the square, then we have the trine, then we have the semi-sextile, then we have the quincunx, then we go into the opposition, and then it's a continuous cycle, but we are up leveling throughout that, right? It's not that it stays the same. We're not supposed to go through the same lessons over and over again, but we go through lessons and up cycle and up level, right? So the cycle, it's still a cycle, but within the cycle there's always growth. Now, like I already said, the themes with the trine and the sextile, it's the opportunities to integrate the lessons, whatever lessons that those are, right, for everyone, and move towards the future without major upheaval, right? There is like a flow, there is like this feels so good, I get it, I finally get it. It's that feeling of, I'm getting it. Why did I not get it before? Now I get it. And the challenges are not really challenges, but it's almost like these periods are less eventful, where we might feel complacent, but to be honest, I don't really feel that. I think because when you allow the flow to quote unquote flow, right? Just you're flowing with it, inspired actions follow. So the opportunity here really is to strengthen the connection between your karmic past and the future aspirations, right? Really getting it, really integrating it, and say like, I get it. I get why I always did this that way, and I get where it comes from. I understand it, and I also understand that I cannot, there's no change there in the past because it happened, right? And all I have to do is letting go of it. And when you hear all I have to do is letting go of it, when you hear it while you're in the square, you think like, okay, shut up. Like, don't talk. Just don't talk. But when you hear it when you're in the trine, you get it. You're like, yeah, of course, I just have to let it go. I mean, what are you even talking about? It's clear. There's clarity. Now let's talk about these two little aspects that can sometimes feel a little bigger. We're talking about the semi-sextile, which is 30 degree, and the quincunx 150 degree aspect between the transiting nodes. So like I said, the nodes shifting into Pisces and Virgo will then eventually get to sextile and semi-sextile and quincunx, my south node and north node. And there's, I don't know, I don't really want to say they're subtle because to me they're not really subtle. I think they're actually quite out there. They are annoying. They are annoying because it's like they're still carrying an important message about the soul's journey, and they highlight where we have to make adjustments and fine tune, right? It's the fine tuning. It's kind of like the Virgo energy, right? It's the for me, the quincunx is Virgo energy. It's like, okay, we gotta fine tune this and fine tune that and adjust here, and but just not too much, just a little, just enough. It's that energy. Now let's just look at the semi-sextile real quick. So the semi-sextile suggests an opportunity to harmonize your neighboring energies, because it's like from one sign to the other, right? For me, it will be the north node. My north node will semi-sextile the south node in Virgo, right? So what can we learn from the neighboring energy? Because the thing with the neighboring energy is that it is a different element, right? And it is also a different mode. So it's very it's very different. It's like, what are they even? I don't understand them, but we're neighbors, so we got to get along. It's that energy, be cordial. This is kind of cordial energy with your neighbors. You don't get them, they don't get you. You have no idea what, like, they're just like, they seem like aliens, but you got to get along. So you got to find a way to get along because you're neighbors and you'll probably run into each other. So this energy often requires an awareness to recognize something within you that you might notice in the other, and you're like, this is annoying. But what is it? Where is it within you, and how can you adjust within you? Like I already said, that it's sometimes an uncomfortable reminder to balance contrasting traits or approaches to something, life in general, or a way of living, maybe even a different religion, whatever it is, right? But it usually is something very worldly in my experience. So it's something they just live differently. They have different beliefs, something like that. So the things like that may show up when you have that. And it really is a chance to build bridges between your karmic past and the growth potential, right? It's building that bridge. And you might feel a subtle pull towards aligning your practical routines with your higher aspirations. And that kind of reminds me on Pisces and Virgo energy, the energy we're moving into right now. But it is, right, like the practical routine of like Virgo, and then the higher aspirations of Pisces, the higher understanding of life, like the zone where we are like, we as humans, we are like, what? It's just so far beyond it. We can't see it. And when we can't see it, it's almost like it can't be real. But again, specifically this nodal shift that we're going through now, with the North Node moving into Pisces, that is exactly what we need to learn and integrate within us, right? That understanding that just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not real. Because it's real in consciousness. You haven't brought it forth yet. You can bring it forth. But for that, you need to understand that it's real first. Opportunities, we already talked about the opportunities here, right? Refinement of habits, attitudes, and values. And small but meaningful adjustments that create long-term alignment with where you're going. And now the Quincunx. It's similar but different. Now the Quincunx creates a sense of discomfort and misalignment, kind of like a little bit what we talked with the Semi-Sextile, but I think the Semi-Sextile is easier because with the Semi-Sextile, it's almost like, I think we are more inspired to take action. Or it's easier to take action. With the Quincunx, it sometimes seems a little, the nagging is stronger with the Quincunx because, like I said to you, the Quincunx for me is Virgo energy. So there's more nag. It's like, not this, and you don't do this right, and I wouldn't do this. You know, when you hear from people that never done anything you are doing, and then they want to give you good advice, I'm like, I'm not taking advice from people that haven't done what I'm doing, that are not already there where I'm going. Like, if you're where I'm going, I'm open to your advice. I want to hear what you have to say. But otherwise, don't talk to me. And it creates a sense of discomfort and misalignment. And the signs involved are completely different in also element and modality. And the aspect often requires adjustment, rebalancing, and what we would probably call sacrifice. And I'm using the word sacrifice because I'm talking about Virgo energy here, because that is, Virgo energy has that kind of feel and belief where, oh, you got to sacrifice something for something else, like in the physical world. But is it really sacrifice, right? You can look at it from the perspective of sacrifice, of course. But can you look at it from a different perspective? Can you look at it from the perspective of having an experience? So the themes here, again, similar to the Semi-Sextile, there are frictions between your past habits and your growth direction as you kind of navigate the areas of life that don't seem to connect naturally, right? So like I'll give you my example again. My North Node and South Node is in Leo and Aquarius, and now we are going into Virgo and Pisces, or Pisces and Virgo. Now that these energies are just like, they don't really get each other. But actually, I do maybe because I have so much Pisces energy within me, right? Like most of my personal planets are in Pisces. I've learned to move with it. So for me, this is a very natural aspect. I learned to live with it and grow with it. So there's still this energy of annoying, it's kind of annoying and maybe it's not a discomfort so much, but there's this I really have to make an effort to align, right? It's not like just it flows easily. I just have to decide I want to align this with that, and then it works. But it kind of has been my life's work, so it kind of feels like that's just how it goes. And I do love my Leo friends. And that is because my North Node is there, and as a full-on Pisces, I just really appreciate the Leos in my life. Like they're just, I love that energy, even though there is this quote-unquote misalignment with the Quincunx. There is, I don't know, it's almost like I enjoy that little challenge of adjustment and, finding the groove within that. And there is sometimes a bit of awkwardness. And it requires you to reassess how your goals align with your current trajectory. And you also may feel out of sync a little bit, depending on, again, if you, like I do have a lot of Pisces energy. The North Node is now in Pisces, and with that quincunx to Leo, my Leo energy in the North Node, it doesn't actually feel that awkward because it's just normal for me, that energy, right? It senses. But if you don't have any, let's say you have no Pisces placements, but you have a lot of Leo placements, and then the North Node in Leo, that Pisces energy really challenges you. It's like this, it excites you also a little bit, but it just also, it's like, oh, this annoying energy. What do I do with it? The challenge here is that things can feel very vague. Like something is off and not clearly identifiable. But at the same time, you really want to understand. You really want to get it. You want to get it. You're like, I want to get it. But you have to understand that, yes, you can get it, but there is this, you got to take a step towards it, right? Like just sitting there waiting for it to take a step towards you, there is, something's got to give on both ends. Especially I see that when I see that in relationships. I see a lot of actually quincunx energy in relationships, which, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I have a high amount of quincunx energy in my own chart and I attract people like that into my life. But I do see this a lot. And the little nagging, I often see this little nagging, and it's kind of like not even like an outward nagging. It's just like the behind, like little digs. That's that quincunx energy. A little dig here and a little dig there. And that, those sometimes are the beginning of the end of a relationship. So really getting that under control is important. And yeah, there is this sense of dissatisfaction because if we don't take a step towards it, we will, we will just be like, nothing happens. It's just annoying. But again, it's like you gotta get off the couch here. Right? This is not a trine. The opportunities are that there can be a realignment of your life's direction with a focus on bridging the disconnect between your current behaviors and your higher purpose. So what do you like when you take this all back to you, like your life without, considering any other people, right? If this energy is just within you, how do you work with it? Like bridging the disconnect between what you're doing right now and where you're going. And what you're doing right now apparently isn't really taking you there. So what do you have to realign so the road leads to where you want to go, and not somewhere else? Do you know what I mean? Does it make sense what I'm saying here? Like like what got you here will not get you there. It's that kind of energy. So, and it's a call to embrace flexibility and adaptability, and allowing you to grow from not apparent, but that discomfort, right? That discomfort that you may feel, and the integration of seemingly unrelated aspects of your life to support your overall karmic evolution. Now, let's look at some more examples here. I kind of gave you some examples from my life, but let's look at a semi-sextile example. If your natal North Node is in Pisces, 7th house Pisces, right? So that means you're a Virgo rising. And the transiting North Node moves into Aries, your 8th house. So you may feel a subtle shift encouraging a deeper emotional and financial collaboration. And it may feel like a bit of a challenge. Not a big challenge, but there is a challenge in it. And it's a nudge to combine your bold Aries energy with your Piscean compassion in relationship. So that might have to do with a partner. Maybe you meet someone that brings in finances, and now how are you going to, what is going to be the situation? How are you going to deal with it? Maybe you're coming from a bit of a lack mindset. Now, what shift do you have to do within? Well, the shifts, obviously, you have to adjust your worth, right? Like your understanding of worth and value. So even though this is playing out in the 7th and 8th house, there's still also the second house, because if the transiting north node is in the second house, that means the transiting south node, if the transiting north node is in the 8th house, the transiting south node is in the second house. And that's where the worth and value is. And that's where the release has to be in the integration. What do you have to release and what do you have to integrate in the second house to move the needle in the 8th house, and then also grow your natal north node in the 7th house. And then the Quincunx example, for example, if your natal north node is in Leo in the 2nd house and the transiting north node is in Pisces in the 9th house, you might feel torn between focusing on the tangible material goals, 2nd house, and exploring your more philosophical growth. And maybe even also traveling, going out there. Maybe, the stability, that maybe living somewhere gives you with the yearning and the urge of like going out there in the world and expanding your horizon. And this is calling for finding ways to merge these two parts. Like, how can you find a way to merge both? Like, there is this part of you that has to, obviously get creative to get there. So, and there's also, again, when we talk about this particular aspect, like the 2nd and the 9th house, the 2nd house is very oriented on like foundational, like feeling safe and stable, with a strong foundation. And then the 9th house, we want to break free. We want to break away. And how can you bring these seemingly, not opposing, but seemingly different aspects of life together? That can be a challenge. Yeah, I think I want to leave it here because I said this is going to be a short podcast, and it obviously is not. We are already. Maybe I give you a few more examples. Shall I give you a few more examples, like general interpretations of the transiting nodal shift? Like, okay, for example, transiting north node over natal planets and points. Shall we look into that? Like, if the transiting north node goes over your natal planets or points, it amplifies the themes of the planets and points involved. And it creates a sense of destiny or purpose related to the area. Like, for example, if it's the 7th house, right? If the transiting node shifts into your 7th house and you have the sun, the moon, and Venus there, well, the themes are very clear. Emotions, right? It's like, growing emotionally, like growing individually, like your sun shining, let your sun shine in relationships. And then Venus, obviously, probably, if you're already in a relationship, the next step in the relationship, an up level in the relationship, or, starting a relationship. If you're not yet in a relationship, that could mean that. So, what else? And with the south node, well, if the south node transits over your natal planets and points, this can bring up karmic themes potentially involving past life connections. And again, when I say past life, I mean past life, and I also mean your early life. So maybe I shouldn't call it past life, your early life, the life before the now. And the need to let go of attachment associated with that planet or point, whatever planet or point it is. Then obviously it's different for Mars or Venus or the moon. And again, it's not just letting go or releasing. It also is that there needs to be the integrant. You need to understand something here. You need to learn something here. There has to be a lesson that has to be integrated. It's not just, oh, let it go, bye. There is. What are you learning here? Then let's look at the North Node conjunct natal Mars. Now, the transiting North Node conjunct natal Mars, the themes here could be activation of your ambition and action, right? Taking action. and a push towards courageously pursuing goals or taking steps in your life, right, forward. So, for example, you might feel compelled to start a new project or take on a leadership role that aligns with your deeper purpose. Or situations arise where you must assert yourself, right? You have to take risks now, and you have to step up, and you've got to step out of your comfort zone when you step up. Or you might be drawn to more physical activities, sport. Maybe you're discovering a new sport. Or relationships could become more passionate, but also more confrontational. And that is then urging you to redefine your boundaries and act with integrity. And the challenge here often is that you got to avoid impulsive and aggressive behavior and channel this energy into purposeful action. With North Node conjunct your natal Venus, for example, I think I kind of mentioned this earlier already. We have the themes of transformation in love, relationships, also aesthetics and values. So it's a period of aligning with what truly brings you joy and what makes you feel sensual and beautiful and also harmonious within you. Examples here could be a significant relationship may begin or deepen, and there might be this feeling of fatedness or like a karmic in nature. And you could reevaluate your values and attract people, opportunities, or resources that align with your evolving sense of purpose. Creative projects or artistic pursuits may take center stage for you as well. That's another expression here. Or financial opportunities may arise, encouraging you to reassess your approach to money and material abundance. And that kind of goes with the values, right, that I talked about. The challenge here may be avoid clinging to superficial pleasures or people who don't truly resonate with your values, right? Just they're beautiful and they're fun, but you don't really share values, right? You don't have the foundation. You need the foundation, right? We have Venus is ruling Libra, but it's also ruling Taurus. Foundation is important. Let's take one more. The Sun. So transiting North Node conjunct your natal Sun. The spotlight here is on your individual growth, like your life's purpose and your sense of self-expression. It's from my opinion, a profound opportunity to step into your personal power and align with that soul's mission, right? That yearning that is inside of you. So you may experience a career breakthrough or a moment of recognition that feels like destiny is calling. New opportunities may arise that allow you to showcase your talents and leadership qualities. You may feel a strong pull to redefine your goals and take steps towards living more authentically. Or this could mark a period of personal reinvention, where you fully embrace your individuality. The challenge here may be avoid ego-driven actions, right? Again, is there a foundation or is there no foundation in what you're doing? And let your let your inner truth guide you here. So, and with that, I think this was long and intense, way longer than I intended. But I hope it will give you some insights that are helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you want a personal reading, you can click on the link in the description box. Anything else, ask away. I will see